Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Thursday, October 24th, 2024, and today's topic will be creating thumbnails for comics. And I'll probably link the video I made a couple of days ago about like experimenting with a comic page or something like that, because I'll be using that as kind of a example instead of flipping through my sketchbook. And so part of this is because I'm working on a comic and it's still in the beginning stages, and also I've started to work on a couple of pages, and like it's not an actual story, it's just to practice, but I want to do at least another page, maybe two more, so like a 4-page comic. But with that said, yeah, if you're new, I sketch every day, make videos every day, and I set a 5-minute timer, so I'll go ahead and do that. And that's just to build the habit of sketching, kind of like working out. So I'll just, to get warmed up, like on that first page of the comic that I was working on, that I'm still working on, so it started off with these undead skeleton warriors being raised by the undead sorcerer. And just to start off with, we'll just make every panel square. And the page layout and page composition, so these are panels, they're not pages. That's its own thing, so I'll do another. I mean, it's going to take more than one video to explain all of this. And I'm not an expert, by the way. This is just somebody that I'm working on this, so this helps me to get clearer about it also, and the thought it might be interesting. So, yeah, these are not the actual pages, but panels, and for now we'll just keep the panels square, because they can be any shape within the page, or maybe even 2-page. So yeah, just going off of the one that I was working on, it's good to have an establishing shot, so we'll just call that establish. So in that example, we had like so these are thumbnails, and yeah, keep it pretty small. So so I'm kind of reverse engineering it, but the better way is to just come up with the thumbnails, but that's okay. This is also a good way if you want to do it this way, where you kind of thumbnail something that's already been drawn. It's a good way to either look at movies and do this, or look at comics, obviously, is the even better thing. So this was our establishing shot. So you might be working off of a script, or you might be working, like if I'm just coming up with something, I'm probably not going to script everything out. Again, this is just an intro to this topic. So this is the establishing shot, meaning, and I'm gonna just go off of, like, I'm gonna call this an establishing shot, but there's a bunch of stuff that you can do with an establishing shot. So there's that, and it's good to kind of start the comic that way. And again, a comic can be one page, it can be and more. And also the pacing of it and the storytelling of it is another topic. So, and then after that, I think I had like a close-up, so we'll just call it that. So I'm just using the comic that I'm working on right now, the pages, so you can see like what I'm talking about. As far as like when to use it, that's more storytelling. So the close-up I use to show the expression like of the character, like the facial expression. So we have a close-up. And then then there's like a medium kind of shot. So a medium shot would be, in this one, I had the sorcerer kind of doing something. So here, it's sort of like the close-up, but instead of the facial expression, you're kind of showing like the body expression. So that's 5 minutes. You could have like a extreme close-up. I sort of did this with that skeleton warrior. It's probably not that extreme, but you get the point. So here you can really just kind of show the texture and whatever. And again, like this is an experiment, like the comic I'm working on. So I'm not saying that it's ideal. And in fact, like this shot would be better probably the way that I drew this. But it's kind of good to do like I didn't do thumbnails, that's kind of my point, is that it's good to do thumbnails so you can pick and choose. But I think it's good to kind of know kind of the different categories of panels. But yeah, thumbnails are good because you don't get lost in the details. You can make changes. You can see what works and what doesn't work quickly. It's not really a storyboard. I mean, I think there's similarities, but I'm not a storyboard artist. Although I think if you kind of know this, it'll help out. But yeah, it's not exactly the same. This is going more towards illustration. I think I also had like so we had the medium. There's kind of like a long shot. I don't know if that's what it's called, but again, these terms may not be correct, but you can see what I mean. So in a long shot, you might want to show like I had like the figure. It would be a way to kind of show everything that's going on. So in some ways it might seem like the establishing shot, but there's similarities, but they're not exactly the same. For the establishing shot, it could just be a location, for example. For this long shot, it might be you're wanting to show everything. like the full figure. I'm just using that term. Okay, so what else we got? Some other stuff that comes to mind that I was doing in those pages. So we'll start to get into like the page layout. So this is just to get you started. So for page layouts, I'll do this kind of thing, sort of more vertical. I'll just start with this. So you could have, so these were supposed to be panels. So you could just have that. You could just have some panels just to start with. And now we're going into a little bit more of the composition. So let's just kind of play around with that a little bit. So you could have your establishing shot right here. You could have the close-up, and then you could have the medium, like this. You could have the extreme, and I didn't actually lay out the page this way, but this, ideally you would set it up this way. Alright, that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one. And here's that extreme close-up. And then there's that long shot thing. And so you can notice, like, if you change the panel size, that's part of it. Like, if it's a long shot, it might look better this way. And this is just to kind of show the background, and also however, like, how many figures are in it, stuff like that. And then the other thing you can do is, let's say that, again, this probably would have made for a better page layout. I was just making the other ones, I was just making it up as I went along, just to experiment. So let's say that the main character, the hero, so she could attack the enemy, the skeleton. So here we're gonna do like we're gonna break the panels. This. So basically what I had, but I could have done it this way. Just as an example. Now when you're doing these little thumbnails, it's kind of good to just do it in pen, and then if you did another one, you could play around with the panel layout. But one thing is, and so you can see there's a lot of options. Like, one thing is to just kind of pick something. So if you like something, like if you think, well, this is pretty good, then just go with that, and then just start to whatever paper you're using. Like, I'm basically gonna stick with this size. I'm not really gonna draw it bigger. And then you might want to, like, for me, I like this. Like, I like to just go in like this with the pen. Like, I'm alright with that. Like, it works for me. However, the thumbnails like this, I would prefer to like have this to like work out the thing. It would probably be better. Like, I'd probably get better page layouts, and also it would take off some of the stress of coming up with, like, then I could just focus on drawing. Like, if I already knew that I was gonna draw this, then just as an example, like, let's pretend this was bigger, I would just go in, or maybe I could just do it like this. Well, actually, let's go ahead and plan the next page. So I have this so far. So she is confronting the skeleton sorcerer thing, and so instead of like actually drawing a bigger drawing, I'm gonna thumbnail it. And it's still better to do it as a thumbnail, because then, so that's 5 minutes, because then you can make changes. Otherwise, if you draw it kind of big, you're sort of committed to it. So let's have, like, again, this is just making stuff up. We'll have the sorcerer guy. Like, use his magic. And then we'll show like the effects. So this is storytelling. Again, you might have a script. I don't have a script. I'm just making stuff up. But you probably want to have like a reaction. And I'm not even really planning out like the panels. So I'm just kind of figuring out like what is it? Like, just the movement. So just for now, I'm going to think about what the panels could look like. So we know that he's kind of in the distance a little bit. So just get like the scale correctly, the figures. And then, let's see. I wanted to have like, so after he shoots whatever evil magic, then maybe like it destroys some of that cliff that she was standing on. We can kind of show that. And then I wanted to show her, so going with like the long shot, like maybe could have her jump off of one, and then he's like right here. And then we could show her closer, where she's about to swing the sword. kind of thing. And then from here, we could have like her striking the guy. Again, this is very simplistic, but could still work for like an experiment. And then you can see it helps to do like the thumbnail, because if it doesn't work, then you can adjust it. Again, if you're just kind of experimenting, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, it's okay. And you'd be surprised that, I mean, as long as it reads, and again, it depends also on like the dialogue and everything. There's a lot that goes into it. I mean, it's an art form. And like I mentioned, this isn't a real scenario. I'm just making it up to see like how I would want to do this comic. And like, so here's where I'm at with this. So like, yeah, I went in and added detail. This would be like that extreme close-up, but it's really not that extreme. It's just a close-up. So like I said, you can see where this is just me literally making it up as I go along. And you can see where doing the thumbnails would help, like for sure. Like I like this better. So that's 5 minutes, and I'll start to wrap this up. I won't start another one. But you could see where like that would have been probably more interesting than that, although it's okay. But that's how I would use that kind of thing. But I wouldn't overthink it, especially if it's your own book and you're wanting, and there's a lot. But I think that's a good starting point, and you can rework things easier when it's small like this. But then the next step would be, I can't go over that in this video, but just to kind of get started, like this would be like the 3rd page. So unless there's something that I think really needs changing, I would just keep it. It just depends. If you have a script, maybe you would be a little bit more strict about what's going on. But it works for like an action sequence where this is not really, they're not really talking. It's just kind of movement. I mean, you would get, also there's a thing as far as like storytelling, again, that's like another topic, but like it depends on if you're doing just the 1 page. So notice that I did this in such a way that you could just look at this as 1 page and it would be okay, but like it sort of leads to the next one because you're kind of expecting to see what happens next. And then and so this page, you don't have the establishing shot because it's the 2nd page, and so you have action. But again, you kind of want to, when you see this, you sort of want to see what happens next, kind of thing. And so then we have stuff happening here, and again, you kind of want to see what happened after this panel. And then you would, if it's just going to be 4 pages, then you would kind of conclude it. But it's even within that, like the 1 page should kind of have like its own like resolution. But that's storytelling. But for now, I think that'll be good. I'll keep thinking and working on this. But before I sign off, thanks for joining me today, and thanks for supporting the channel. If you like this kind of content, I do appreciate it. And until next time, keep on sketching.